Okay, welcome to the second half of 4.2. This time we are going to multiply polynomials. So they want me to teach you how to vertically multiply them and how to horizontally multiply them. Doesn't matter which way you use. No, whatever way you are most comfortable with is the way that you're going to do it. So I'm going to have more room, I'm going to rewrite this in my journal. You're welcome to do it on that paper. It's just, as you guys know, I like to write big. All right, so we are going to multiply negative x squared, or I'll come back with this written. Okay, so you didn't have to watch me write. Anyways, so we're going to do this one, and this one we are going to do vertically. Vertically. So vertically, you know, is up and down. So my idea of vertically is box method. All right, so we are going to put this into a box and then multiply. So I do have 3 terms in this one and 2 terms in that one. So I do need a box that is a 2 by 3 box. And then just like you would the box method for anything else, I'm going to put x and treat the minus as a negative. And then we have negative x squared, we have positive 2x, and we have a positive 4. So remember, what goes in here is what is this times this. So there is at least 1 in order for this to exist. If you remember your rules from pre-algebra and algebra, you add your exponents. So we're going to multiply the coefficients. So that just means this is going to be negative, and this becomes x cubed. All right, then I'm going to multiply x times 2x. That becomes 2x squared. And then x times 4, that gives me 4x. And so now I'm going to do the same thing, but with the negative 2.5. So that times that gives me positive 2.5x squared. And then negative 2.5 times positive 2x will give me a 5x. And then negative 2.5 times 4 is going to give me, oh, I forgot my negative, is negative 10. So now we're just going to combine our like terms. All right, so we're going to combine our like terms. Most of the time your like terms are diagonally, as is the case in here. So I can combine these 2 terms together, and then I can combine those 2 together. So when I write out my final answer, I'm going to add them together. So I don't have anything to combine with negative x cubed, so it's just going to be negative x cubed. And then I have 2.5 and 2, so that becomes positive 4.5 x squared. And then I have negative 5 and a positive 4x, so that just becomes negative 1x or negative x. And then nothing to combine my constant with. And so this would be my answer. All right, all you have to do is make sure all your like terms are combined, and then you're good to go, and that's all you have to do. So that is the vertical method, aka the box method. All right, so maybe you're not a box method fan. So we're going to do part B. So this was part A. So we're going to do part B the horizontal way. Okay, so I have the question written out here. So what we're going to do first is we're going to take this y, and we're going to multiply it to 3y squared. Then we're going to take the y again, multiply it to 2y. And then we're going to take the y one more time and multiply it to 2. So we have to do all 3 of those. So y times 3y squared would, give us 3y cubed. Y times negative 2y would give us negative 2y squared. So just remember, when you're multiplying variables times variables, you're just adding their exponents. If there is none, there is 1. It has to be 1 in order for it to exist. And then y times 2, whenever you multiply a variable times a number, they just get combined like that. All right, so that's our first part. Now we have to do the same thing with the 5. So we got to multiply 5 times 3y squared, 5 times negative 2y, 5 times 2. So 5 times 3y squared would give us 15y squared. 5 times negative 2y would give us negative 10y. And 5 times 2 would give us positive 10. And so just like in examples 1 and 2, we would now just combine our like terms. So I have this negative 2y squared and the positive 15y squared could be combined, and then I have the 2y and the negative 10y are the same. So I'm going to combine those. So I have 3y cubed, negative 2y squared, and positive 15y squared gives me positive 13y squared. And then 2y and negative 10y gives me negative 8y, and then positive 10. And that's all. That's all we can combine. That would be our final answer. So, which method do I do? Well, personally, I do B because that's how I was taught. I was never taught a box method. What I have noticed, though, is in this way, you lose terms sometimes. So if you do it this way, I do suggest you do the arrows to make sure you are multiplying every single term. Okay? This just keeps it more organized. Make sure that you do every single term. All right, so here's your self-assessments for this one. You're just going to find the product. This is be a great place to find out if you like the box method or the horizontal method better. So you could try the box method with number 7 and the horizontal method with number 8. Decide which one you like best. All right, so please pause your video at this time, give it a try, come back and see how you did. Okay, so if you haven't started yet, if you were unsure about your box, it should be set up this way. If you set it up that way, then you are good. If you need to continue to work on this, please pause the video and continue to work on it. Okay, so hopefully you gave those a try, and you should have gotten these answers here. So 8x cubed plus 6x squared minus 9x minus 5. And then for this one, 5y cubed minus 7y squared minus 7y plus 2. So I did vertical and horizontal just in case you decided to try that. So the next one, if you flip your page over to example 4, I'm just going to stay on my book. It says to multiply it in a horizontal format. I really don't care which method you use. If you don't like this way, then you can do it the other way. All right, they're just giving suggestions. So basically what example 4 is having us multiply is we're multiplying 3 times. So x minus 1 times x plus 4 times x plus 5. So you cannot multiply all 3 of these at the same time. So you're going to have to take it step by step. So first do the first 2. All right, so we're going to multiply x times x and get x squared. We're going to multiply x times 4 and get 4x. Again, with these you can do the box method. They're not going to know what method you chose. All right, and then we have the minus 1. So minus 1 times x gives us negative x. Negative 1 times 4 gives us negative 4. All right, so if we combine our like terms, we end up with x squared plus 4x. Nope, plus 3x, lady. You were combining your like terms, not rewriting. Sorry. Plus 3x minus 4. All right, so now we have to take this one and multiply x plus 5. All right, so now we're going to do the same thing, but multiply x plus 5 to it. So we have to multiply x by each one of those. So x times x squared gives us x cubed. X times 3x gives us 3x squared. And x times negative 4 gives us negative 4x. So now we're going to do the same thing, but with 5. So 5 times x squared gives us 5x squared. 5 times 3x gives us 15x. And 5 times negative 4 gives us negative 20. And so now we just need to combine our like terms, which are the squares and just the x's. So we end up with x cubed, 3x squared, and 5x squared gives me 8x squared. Negative 4 and 15 gives me positive 11x minus 20. And so that's all you would do with that one. Sorry. You just have to multiply it more than once. All right, moving on along. This one's got a lot of information, so I'm trying to keep it short and sweet and to the point. So you have these patterns. We're going to use these patterns for the following examples. All right, so they give you using A and B So they give you using A and B and then a number example. So we're going to look back at that. All right. Looking at example 5. So prove the polynomial identity for the cube of a binomial representing that sum. Use the cube of a binomial in part A to calculate 11 cubed. Okay, I don't like this question just because you never have to do proofs. You haven't had to do that since geometry. If you really want to see this worked out, because I know some of you are dying for it, I will post it by the video. So if you really are just curious, I will post the information by the video. We're going to move on to example 6 because we'll be here all day with me proving example 5 and then you'll be completely lost. All right, so we're finding each product. So the idea of this is so you don't actually have to do too much math. Okay, so looking at this, our A values are the same, the B values are the same. What's the difference? One has a positive, one has a minus sign. So if we look back up here, that is the sum and difference. So what happens? Essentially, that middle term cancels out. So really, all you have to do is square A and square B. So we would use the sum of difference pattern. That means that we can do A squared minus B squared. So our A value in this situation is 4n, and our B value is 5. Now you don't have to worry about the negatives in here. Now, do you have to write this part out every time? No, I'm just doing that so you know where I got this information. All right, so we got 4n squared. Remember, this whole thing is squared. That's the biggest mistake with this. You got to square 4 and n, not just n. And then we have, oh, that's supposed to be a minus sign. Come on, lady, get with the program. Not a plus. Then we have minus our b term, so minus 5 squared. So again, we have to square the 4 and the n, so 4 squared is 16. So we have 16n squared minus 25. And that would be our answer for that one. All right, so moving on to the next one. This one has this binomial squared. So if you look above and it has a minus sign in it, we are going to do the minus one. So this would be the pattern for that one. So that's what we're going to do here. So what is our A value? What is our B value? So we're going to do this one. A is 1.4y and B is 2. Again, we do not care about the signs with this one because the signs are in our formula. So this one, it says that when we work this out, our formula is A squared minus 2 times A times B plus B squared. All right, so we're going to plug in our information. So we've got 1.4y, and that is squared, minus 2 times 1.4y, also times b, so times 2, plus 2 squared. And then we're just going to simplify it. So if you put 1.4 squared into your calculator, you would get 1.96y squared minus, if you did 2 times 1.4 times 2, you would get 5.6y, and then 2 squared is 4, and then that's your answer. So it just makes you do less steps. All right, let's look at C. So take a moment, look above, see if you see which one C matches up to. If you said cube of a binomial, you are correct. So this one is cube of a binomial. Oh my goodness. Okay, so because I'm running a little short on space, I'm going to do this one up here. All right, so I'm just going to say this one is right here. Okay, so what is our A value? Now this one would be nice to use a pattern, because if not, you're going to have to multiply multiple times. So our A, okay, why do they do this to us? I don't know. They're a pain in the butt. You know what? Just so you're not confused, because this is ridiculous, why would they use an AB? Let's change this to XY. Because I feel like if we make it AB, it's going to be so confusing, because you have AB in the formula. So this way you're still seeing it with two variables, but not with those. I don't know who made this question up, but they were not thinking very good. All right, so our A value is XY, our B value is 4. So we're going to use the cube of a binomial. So the cube of a binomial says A cubed, and I'm just getting this from this right here. All right, so it says A cubed plus 3A squared B plus 3AB squared plus B cubed. All right, so now we're just going to plug in our information. So we got XY cubed plus 3 times XY squared times 4. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna not have room. Plus 3 times XY times B squared, so 4 squared, and then plus 4 cubed. All right, so recall from your previous years of learning math, because I know you guys remember it all, this 3 gets distributed. Same with this 2. So we're going to distribute those to the x's and y's. All right, so now we have x cubed, y cubed. Then we got 3 times 4. I'm going to go ahead and multiply the number parts out. 3 times 4 gives me 12, so I got plus 12. And then x squared, y squared. Then I'm going to do the number parts again. So I know 4 squared is 16. 16 times 3 is 48. So I got 48xy. And then 4 cubed. 4 times 4 times 4 gives me 64. I apologize for running out of room right there. All right, so this one, though, had you multiplied it out, it would have taken a lot of work and time. So this pattern is very helpful. I do have these patterns up in the classroom, so you are able to use them when you are working on your stuff in the class. Hated Pascal's triangle. I've not been a fan of it either, just because I like the concept. I find it hard to remember, and that's just my personal opinion. But while we're doing this lesson, we have this to help us. All right, so if you want to take a moment and read exactly what Pascal's triangle is, it gives you the information there. So essentially, you could grow this triangle even more. So when they're talking about the rows of the numbers being 1, this is what they're referring to. All right, so we are going to just dive into these questions. All right, we're going to use Pascal's triangle to expand this one. Because if you had to multiply x minus 2 times itself 5 times, it takes a lot of space and room. So we have 5, so that means we're going to do this one. All right, so yes, we're going to do all that. Okay? Okay, I'm glad y'all are down. All right, so A. So I'm going to write this pattern out first, and then I'm going to put in my x for my A and my -2 for B. Now, this time the negative does matter because these are positive. So if you don't use that negative, your signs aren't going to be right. Okay, here we go. I'm just going to rewrite this on my paper. Put in a -2. So do that now. All right, so if you did that, it should look something like that. Now remember, because we're dealing with the negative, that you're squaring or cubing the whole thing. So now we're going to go through and simplify. Well, my x to the 5th just stays x to the 5th, 5 times negative 2 gives me negative 10, x to the 4th. So this makes it a lot nicer. Negative 2 squared gives me 4, and 4 times 10 is 40. It's just remembering the pattern, and I'm not a great memorizer of patterns. Then negative 2 cubed gives us negative 8. Negative 8 times positive 10 would give me negative 80, x squared. This would give me positive 16. Negative 2 to the 4th would give me positive 16. 16 times 5, I got to do the math in my head. All right, so 16 times 5 gives me 80 again, so I got positive 80 x this time. And then negative 2 cubed gives me, or negative 2 to the 5th power, my apologies, gives me negative 32. So this is your answer. Notice that it goes positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative. So if you don't want to use the negatives in your answer, just know that every other sign becomes negative. And this is your answer. Yes, this was awful, but if you multiplied x minus 2 times itself 5 times, that would be more awful. All right, so now I want you to pause it and give B a try. All right, just try B, because I don't have a self-assessment question for this. So just give B a try. This one is just to the cube, so you only have to do the 3rd row. So this one doesn't have as much, so you can pause the video and give it a try. And my y, so don't forget that. All right, please pause it and try some more. All right, so you should have at least gotten this part if you didn't give it a try yet, or you didn't pause the video because you just love me doing everything for you. Just kidding. So if you didn't, please pause the video and simplify this at least if you haven't already. If you have and you already have the answer and you're waiting for Miss Gill to shut up and just show you the answer, I apologize. I just have too many people not doing this part. All right, so this is what you should have gotten. If some of you are like, why does she have 27 twice? Well, remember 3 cubed, 3 to the 3rd power is 27. We have to do 3 squared with this one, so 3 squared is 9, and 9 times 3 becomes 27. Because we had the one, that made it a little easier. So hopefully you gave these a try. And that ends this lesson. So hopefully you didn't find this one too bad. Again, the special patterns, you're just following them, and I have them listed up in the classroom. I do not have Pascal's triangle, but I might make one just for fun. All right, well, I will see you in class.